Just thinking about the issue of food security, there's so much that needs to be done. Africa remains a net importer of food. You spoke about value addition. We have 60% of the world's remaining arable land that is uncultivated, and yet we have more than 100 million Africans who go to bed hungry every day. And so we've spoken about these problems. We've spoken ad infinitum, ad nauseum. What concrete actions do we need to be taking, African nations should be taking with the people holding them accountable to make food production more sustainable, to make Africa more resilient towards the shocks that we are constantly experiencing?
Africa imports over 40 billion worth of agri produce every year. And again, this is not the kind of money that you should be exporting. This is the kind of money we should be generating, plowing back into our soil to make agriculture a thriving sector for the continent. The food, if we have, for example, a mountain of rice in one region, I don't see why they can't export it within Africa itself. That's why the free trade has been signed. But again, it boils down to investment and also changing the narrative around African agriculture, because so far the stereotype has been such that it pushes the young people away from that sector. And yet, it's a major sector that can create jobs for youth and create food security. And also looking at natural resources, preserving the tradition. And there's so much that Africa can export to the world in terms of new, innovative food stuff that are coming from Africa. In fact, some of the businesses of the diaspora has been to precisely add value to homegrown food stuff. On the continent, exporting it out to the rest of the world. So why can't this be done locally? But again, it boils down to equipping our young people with the appropriate tools for them to make a difference to their own livelihoods, and by so doing, to the rest of the country, to the rest of the continent.
And of course, Madam President, that $40 billion that you mentioned, that is exported out of Africa as a result of the structure, the cost is a lot bigger than that when you think about the result of African people making the food choices that is driven by all of those factors. We are seeing major increases in metabolic disorders like diabetes, a huge public health time bomb that is facing Africa right now. And when that bill comes, it's going to be way bigger than 40 billion. How did you think about this issue of diet, educating communities to appreciate the value of our own traditional foods and for health?
Well, Mauritius, we are very much dependent on import, unfortunately, because of the sheer size of our land area. But we try to remain self-sufficient, at least for vegetables, except when there's a crisis that we have to import. So we have dedicated some land, at least for the vegetable and some fruit, but not many. But I will just share with you a small story. In fact, it's a true story of a region in Africa where they were doing some epidemiological studies for the HIV at the time. And they found that those people who were living in the rural areas in some parts of Africa, and they were consuming their own traditional diet, of millet, of sorghum, cassava, and, vegetables, indigenous crops. These people, they did not develop full-blown AIDS. Whereas those living out in the cities where they were consuming fast food, refined foods, they developed full-blown AIDS faster. So this is the question that we need to ask ourselves. What value are we adding to our own traditional recipes, traditional foods? In fact, if you look at a corporate like Nestle, for example, they are themselves trying to tropicalize some of the ingredients. They are introducing increasingly for the African market, sorghum, millet, and you name it. But why can't we adopt a much healthier food habit? That's what we have been doing so far. I mean, do we always have to say that by eating fast food, we are more sophisticated? What campaign are we engaging on the continent with the young people to make them eat traditionally? I mean, again, there's a a whole education that has to be done on the eating habits. But we need to start from home. We need to start with our community to make sure that the good habits are maintained. And more importantly, how do we document and how we keep on promoting the growth of indigenous vegetables? There's so many that's there that can make a difference to the health habit, address hidden hunger, but not enough cultivation, not enough propagation, not enough value addition to these crops. So that's where it hurts, because it's literally hurting our food habits, hurting our health, because we're not really adding value to that.
Yes, absolutely. And it comes back, Madam President, to a point that you made earlier about external influences and so forth.